Hello, hello, I'm Albert Siegel, and I am going to share with you my opinion of using the new PENTAX K-3 Mark III after 6 months. Now, I guess many of you will wonder, why is there a new DSLR coming when this is seemingly a mirrorless world, when the major manufacturers are all shifting away from making DSLRs toward mirrorless? And I'd like to say that, well, there are still many people who flat out prefer a DSLR, and DSLR sales are still pretty strong. Pentax has taken a strategy of just making DSLRs their niche. They are focusing only on DSLRs. They've seemingly abandoned their miniature mirrorless format, which is the Q series, and it's a fantastic series, by the way. I love the Q series, but with everyone else doing mirrorless, I think it's actually a pretty good decision for Pentax to stick with DSLRs, because they're able to service a market that everyone else seems to be neglecting. And much in the same way that Leica focuses mainly on rangefinders, Pentax, I guess, will end up being that with DSLRs. And that's not a bad thing, because much like Leica, Pentax makes among the best lenses out there. And they have excellent ergonomics and really fantastic feature sets. So I guess for me, that all that came into play because, like many people, I've been contemplating, what if? Why don't I give mirrorless a try? And well, I guess that's not exactly accurate, because I've had mirrorless for years. I've got Lumix Micro Four Thirds camera. I've got a Sony mirrorless, APS-C Sony mirrorless, and yeah, I mean, the Sony I don't really use for much anymore. Didn't thrill me too much. The Lumix, I use it for video because it's just really fantastic for video, as long as you're not trying to autofocus on anything for a period of time. The image quality for video is really excellent on that Lumix though, and the lenses are really good, and of course I can adapt my other lenses to it, so it works out. But when it comes to stills, there's just something that I prefer about an optical viewfinder. But nonetheless, I gave mirrorless, modern mirrorless, a try, and I borrowed a friend's Sony Alpha 7. I forgot which version, but he just bought it, so I used that, and I compared it against the K3 Mark III. I also did a video making a comparison between the K3 Mark III and a Sony full-frame mirrorless. I'll link it in the description, or you can just search my channel if I don't. But the long story short is, I just am not a fan of electronic viewfinders. I find them to be rather uncomfortable for extended periods of time, and in low light situations, while they can amplify the dark scenes to something viewable, I find it rather unpleasant. Where with an optical viewfinder, I mean, I guess my eyesight's good enough that that I can shoot in fairly dark scenes, and I guess if I really need to have a better lit preview, I can just use the live view on the LCD. One of the things I really like about optical viewfinders is that I feel that I feel like I'm a more intimate connection with the subject. Electronic viewfinder is just like I'm watching television, where an optical viewfinder, to me, I feel like I'm there. And I guess that's one of the aspects of photography that that matters, not to everyone, but I guess to enough people. And that is that photography, while it is, I guess you would say, a trade, it's a technical skill, but it's also an artistic skill. And myself working as a professional photographer, mainly in photojournalism, it's not to be artistic. It's to be, it's a job. It's not about being pretty, it's about being truthful and factual. But nonetheless, you also want to feel, a connection to your subject, because that translates into a more meaningful image. And I think when you have photographers who just take the shot, just to get the shot, and you have others who are trying to capture the essence of the situation. It shows in the photos. So it to me matters if you actually feel good about using the equipment you're using. I mean, if you're uncomfortable or if you don't like the equipment, you're just not going to be as likely to keep the camera to your eye. So down to the feeling you get from the optical viewfinder, the ergonomics of the body, which are absolutely excellent. I mean, every dial, every button is absolutely within reach of one hand. And this to me makes a significant difference in the usability and operability of the system as a whole. And yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, a really fantastic camera, this K3 Mark III. Of course, Pentax has always had fantastic ergonomics, just like Nikon and some of the other brands out there. And, well, there are some other brands, particularly mirrorless brands, that are, well, less than stellar ergonomics. Yeah, I've been using this camera for the past 6 months, and again, I've used the Sony mirrorless, and I compare with my Panasonic Lumix, which I bought like what 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 2 years ago, and they all take excellent images. There's no question. I mean, you cannot buy a modern digital camera that takes poor quality images, particularly if you're just printing at normal sizes. In normal sizes, I mean, you're doing like A3, 13 by 19 or smaller. If you commission a larger print, I mean, you know, any camera 20 megapixels and above is going to do an excellent 20 by 30, so to speak. And most people are just viewing images on small devices anyway, so yeah, I mean, I compared the image quality from this K3 Mark III to the maximum ISO range that the Sony was capable of against to the matching range on this Pentax K3 Mark III, and I printed them out on the on A3 plus size, which is 13 by 19, and I really couldn't tell a difference. I mean, they're just to me indistinguishable. So it just shows how far APS-C technology has come to the point where it can match, very well match, a full frame camera of a similar megapixel count. And yeah, I mean, so image quality clearly isn't a concern. In terms of performance, I've got no complaints. I mean, the camera operates very quickly. I wish they had a better buffer. I mean, this buffer is just a bit shallow for my taste, but hey, it's good enough for my shooting. And yeah, I mean, it's got some really great features that I'm in love with. And one of the features I always liked about Pentax, has been around for ages, is this composition adjustment, where you can essentially shift the sensor and treat any lens as a shift lens. So like if you're using the 11 to 18 like I do, or even the Sigma 8 to 16, which I do use, I do a lot of architectural photography. I live here in Japan. Many places are downright tiny. So when I want to photograph some of these places, I mean, it is, I'm able to get shots using this camera along with the ultra wide and this sensor shift that simply would be impossible with any other system, period, by any manufacturer. And it really helps me a lot to get the image that I want. I mean, I guess, I could survive without those images, but why not get the best that you can get, right? It's the right tool for the job, but it's also a tool I happen to enjoy. So yeah, I like that. The eye tracking autofocus is also quite interesting, because that's always one of the selling points of mirrorless. So they added eye tracking autofocus into the optical viewfinder, which I think is a neat trick. And I've never really needed to use it. I've always done a fairly decent job of getting eyes in focus, but I gave it a shot. I got some friends of mine, models, and did some test photos, and yeah, it's a really neat feature. It works really, really, really well, and I was surprised that I just had a really insanely good keeper rate, and yeah, so that's a feature I'll probably use, continue using. I guess changing old habits. But yeah, this camera is, it's a tough sell when you look at it on paper. An APS-C camera in 2021 for $2,000 US. And I argue that it's actually, I think, a fair price because you're talking about a camera with exceptional build quality, equivalent to the absolute best of any manufacturer, and often better than other manufacturers, mid-range models, and even one or two manufacturers' top models. This would be better than that. But you're paying for an exceptional build quality, an optical viewfinder that is astonishingly good. It is an APS-C camera with an optical viewfinder that is every bit as good as a full-frame viewfinder. And you would say, well, why not a full-frame camera to begin with? Well, there are people like me who actually prefer an APS-C sensor. I like the smaller lenses in general when they're dedicated to APS-C, the APS-C dedicated lenses. And also, I prefer to have, well, I'm not a fan of too shallow a depth of field. Bokeh is beautiful. It's very nice. It makes, of course, the image stand out. But when you have when you're going for, I guess, too much, you have too much of an obsession with bokeh. When you go too much to shallow depth of field, I feel it ruins the image, but that's just my taste. And the APS-C, I mean, I find that even with APS-C, honestly, I stop down. I rarely shoot at one, at 1.4, 1.8. I think I typically shoot at f4, quite frankly. And maybe every now and then I go at 2.8 if it's necessary, but yeah, for people like me, my preference, my shooting style, the fact that I can get an APS-C sensor with a viewfinder, an optical viewfinder as large as a full frame, it's a really nice touch. So you were talking about a $2,000 US dollar camera that, okay, now it's more than an APS-C camera. It's an APS-C camera, yes, but it's got a robust build, an amazing viewfinder. It's got an autofocus system that's just fantastic. It's got some really interesting, unique features exclusive to this brand, such as the image composition adjustment, and yeah, just a slew of other things. So, I mean, when you think of the previous model that it released, what 5-6 years ago, that was around $1,500 US, I think. It's a $500 increase, but you're actually getting a lot more than you would have with the previous model. And in general, camera prices have been going up. I mean, yeah, can you get a full-frame camera for less than the cost of this? You can. Is it of the same build quality? No, nowhere near it. The same feature set? It's a different feature set. Has some better features, some lesser features. But in terms of image quality, okay, so that's where it matters, right? This full-frame camera that costs less than this one, is the image quality significantly better? No, isn't. Is it even marginally better? In my experience, not really. I find that the image quality between this K3 Mark III and a similar megapixel count full-frame sensor, I find the image quality to be nearly identical. I really don't see any meaningful difference. So then at what point, so what is the advantage of getting a similarly priced or cheaper full-frame body over this one? I don't know, just if you have some old full-frame lenses you want to take advantage of, I guess that's it. But you're getting a lesser build going that route, and lesser features, I think. And this camera is, I think, comparable to, in terms of performance and features, comparable to one of the upper tier models, like a professional model even. And that's one of the nice things, that for $2,000, when you realize this, it's not unreasonable, and that's just the way things are these days. So I think it's a really good buy for what you're getting. And these days, most people don't upgrade the camera every 2 years. At least I don't see the reason to do that. I mean, maybe 10 years ago when they were making incredible leaps and bounds of improvement every year or two, that made sense. But these days, I mean, even a camera made 5 years ago is not any worse in terms of image quality than a camera released today. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it's all a matter of personal preference. I mean, if you want to burn the money, go ahead. But I personally keep my cameras for a long time. And actually, I just upgraded my previous cameras that I've been using professionally for work for 9 years. And not because they were malfunctioning or anything like that. Just simply after 9 years, after 9 years of using them, yeah, I mean, I thought it was time to upgrade, and some of the feature sets of the new cameras were really impressive. And this K3 Mark III, really, really did tick all the right boxes for me. And then, I mean, I guess I didn't enjoy using the other mirrorless anywhere near as much as I did this one. So it kind of, I guess that's why I made my decision. I'll stick with DSLRs for a bit, and yeah, I mean, the point of this video is to give you my thoughts after using this camera for 6 months, and that's pretty much it. I found it to be a worthy update to any of my previous cameras. The image quality is outstanding, the feature set is outstanding, the build quality is outstanding, and I just really like using the camera. It feels good. It feels like an extension of me, both physically and creatively. And yeah, I mean, I can't recommend it enough. Of course, I'm going to keep my other mirrorless stuff because it's great for video. I'm not going to pretend that this, shooting DSLR works for video. I don't think DSLR cameras need to do video. I'm personally of the opinion that you should have a different system for video and different for stills. When you try to make a hybrid, it never quite works out. In fact, I'm filming this on a dedicated NX cam by Sony from their pro broadcasting division, and I mean, honestly, using a dedicated video camera is a lot better for video to me than messing around with the DSLR. But I've got my mirrorless for some creative shots, so I'll keep using mirrorless for video. But yeah, when it comes to still image photography, yeah, nothing to me beats an optical viewfinder. And by, I guess, a happy coincidence, Pentax makes a really excellent system. An amazing camera, really feels great. Yeah, I really like it. But again, this is just my taste. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to get some lovely comments telling me how wrong I am and pointing out any flaw they can find about my logic or even me, and that's cool. You guys get creative in the comment section. I'm very happy to respond to anybody, by the way. If you have any suggestions or comments, feel free. I'm happy to chat. You need any advice, I'm happy to answer. And yeah, I mean, I guess I'm done rambling. Hopefully, I mean, there's no point to this other than just sharing my thoughts. I know it doesn't really help anyone, but for some people, you're curious, you ask me, so I'm answering. So yeah, I look forward to hearing from you. If you have anything you want to ask or say, I'm gonna do maybe another video in the near future about particularly about the eye focus tracking, and I'm gonna, I guess, do some other videos on other things, of course. But yeah, sorry, I've been away from uploading to this channel for a while. I've been busy. 2 kids, they give me no time. But yeah, thanks so much, and yeah, take it easy. Happy shooting.